Now it appears that Wright, Jenkins, and the Cutters are at it right now. Also, the ATOs are in there, and we are just at a lap 198 completed on 199 laps.
Tonight on FitFoot U, we're going to be taking a look at the legacy of the Cutters. We've got Randy Strong. He was Cutter number 1. He broke off from the Delta Chi fraternity to form his own team with several of his close friends and rider teammates. We're going to be seeing how he did it, how he got advice from other legacy riders, what he's done to continue his cycling pursuits both on and off the track, and how cycling has been such a big part of his life. It's going to be an exciting episode. We look forward to talking with Randy here coming up on FitFoot U.
Still trying to move it out. He's taking on the inside. It's the Cutter. It's Adam Giles. He's got it. It's there. Adam Giles wins. The AE5s are second. The Acacias finish.
Let's start from the beginning. What got you interested in racing as a youth and bike riding?
Well, it was kind of a situation where my brother was racing bicycles. I was playing football, and I was a little bit obese at the time, and my parents were trying to push me into cycling and get me out of getting my head bashed in on the monkey roll of football. And it turns out cycling is just as dangerous, if not more dangerous. Ended up with, lots of injuries over the years from my youth, including breaking my jaw when I was 15, and a bad crash that basically transformed my body over that summer by not being able to eat and having to drink through straws, and still racing bicycles at the time. I was starving myself, not by choice by any stretch, but it was one of those situations growing up where my brother was racing. My parents were going to these races. They wanted me to, kind of get into the sport. And so I kind of picked it up watching. I didn't know a lot about it. Didn't have any of the breadth of knowledge of, what it would take to be a champion in the sport. Showed up my first bike race and ended up on the front page of the Indianapolis Star on my first bicycle race as a 12-year-old. I look back at the picture, and it's just so funny to look at a guy wearing tennis shoes and, the blue jacket and the hockey helmet. It's so dated in its approach, but had, a little bit of ego boost being in the newspaper, my very first bicycle race. I think that was important. And ended up meeting a lot of the local bike race community in Indianapolis at the time. Bill Brissman was a very competitive junior rider that was racing against my brother. We were going on team rides together. Bill Brissman was one of the top Little Five riders of all times, 3-time winner of the Little Five, going across the line all 3 years with his arms race. So there's not too many people in the history of Little Five that can match Bill's output in his 4 years. And Bill was a big influence on me, and coming down to IU and checking out the campus. But before then, one of my teammates from up in Indianapolis told me about this movie that was being filmed down in Bloomington. So I hopped in the car as a 16-year-old and took my bicycle down. I didn't know where to go. I got there to the start line, and it was.
No, wait a minute. Did you have a learner's permit or your learner's permit?
Yeah, I had my driver's. I had my driver's license.
You had your full driver's license at 16. That's awesome.
Yeah, and showed up over by the west side of the east side of Bloomington. There used to be a motel way out there. And that's where the start-finish line was for the movie Breaking Away, and the Shinzano race that they were putting on for this movie that I knew nothing about, other than the fact they were filming a movie, and you could see little, actors going in and out of tents, and you know, the crowd was being moved around to get the shots.
Now, was that the side of town, the east side, where there was another bike store? I don't know if it was there when you were there, that wasn't in downtown Bloomington. It was kind of on the edge closer to the Ashton dorm and that side. Is that, I can't remember.
Yeah, this was all the way out east, past the shopping mall, the Bloomington Mall.
Oh, okay.
All the way out toward the road that heads down toward Lake Monroe.
Okay.
And it was lined with riders riding around that they had roped into becoming extras for the movie. And I was just trying to figure out where to go to sign up. I went over to the table. They handed me a number, and I put it on, and got all of my tax information for the tax stubs. But the next 3 days, I drove back and forth between my house in Indianapolis and Bloomington to be in the movie, and got into a couple extra shots that a lot of the other extras didn't get into. So it was.
How did they even navigate that at that time? I mean, here you are, this 16-year-old, you're pretty much going with an open field of extras, and they're trying to, you're trying to just, you know, have a cool experience, and they're trying to winnow down to who's going to make the best shot for the movie. Well, and you end up riding. Gary
Rybar, the double for the star in the movie, was one of my teammates from the Full Gear Exxon team. So he had a lot of say in who he wanted to bring over, and he wanted to represent our team as well as possible in that pack. So if you look at the scene where he's breaking away from the pack to go up to the Italians, I was right there on his wheel as he was going off the front, and I just rode onto the screen for maybe, you know, a nanosecond. It wasn't very long, but it was enough to get a screen grab, you know, from a posterity standpoint, to show I was in a movie and there was the star. I was sitting on his wheel.